Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Crypto Live with Bitcoin Bravado. I'm the Bitcoin Broski here today with Kyle and BTC Jack Sparrow. We are down a man today. Bitcoin Birch won't be joining us, but we're looking forward to the show going on here. We've got some good news to talk about. And for those of you who continue to join us day after day, we appreciate you being here to spend your time with us for this hour where we talk relevant news. And today we're also going to be getting into some BTC analysis. So, gentlemen, how's things going? How's the weekend?
Weekend was great. Super weekend. Had a lot of fun with my friends. Honestly, I want to clear one thing up first, because maybe we're going to spread some rumors, maybe not. But trust us, Bitcoin Birch, he is not with us today because of the SEC hunting his ass. Trust us, he is not any show. SEC is not behind him. So he is good on that part. He'll hopefully join us back on Wednesday. All good.
Yeah, I'll actually be gone Wednesday. Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry, man.
No, I was just gonna say he may or may not be in Malta right now. We're not sure. So, when we know, you'll know. That's what we're operating by here. Sorry, I just gotta plug in my computer. Actually, anyways, go ahead, Broski.
Well, this is going to be a cool week. I think that there's going to be some neat shows coming up this week. I'm going to start integrating the word neat into my vocabulary more often, other than when I'm ordering scotch and bourbon. But yeah, we're really looking forward to the content that's upcoming in the next couple of weeks. I will be out of town for the next 2 shows. Actually, my wife and I are headed to Nashville for a business venture that we have together. We actually are taking we've got a little convention, little fun, all expenses paid trip. Trips are always better when they're free. So fired up to get to see what Nashville's all about. Anyone that's in Nashville, send me a DM on Twitter. I'm down to meet up and grab a drink. We might get a little Bitcoin meetup impromptu style going on somewhere up there. I've never been to the city, but I hear it's a great place to hang out and hear some live music. So excited to come visit.
Yeah, and if you guys ever wanted to know what the inside of the board of trade looks like, it looks like every other boring office in the world. So there's that.
Zoom in on those shitcoin charts, bro.
Probably a few more screens than you usually have in a normal office, but like the geeks have to be geeky with their screens, right?
Yeah, and one of the rooms here, some kid's always playing Fortnite. So along with his 10-15 charts, he's just got a Fortnite TV too.
That sounds like Captain Coinergy.
Oh yeah, it would be.
That dude, he is super good. He is really good at Fortnite. I envy him.
Good Fortnite player.
So, guys, getting right into it today. There's been, obviously the market is doing its thing, which is good for some, bad for others. I think mostly bad. But there's been some good news, right? We've got some news out of Ohio. Ohio is, of course, my birthplace and also the birthplace of all good things that happen in the world. Flight, LeBron James, walking on the moon, Smucker's jelly, all Ohio. And today, an announcement came out that Ohio startup accelerators, and venture funds plan to invest over $100 million in early stage blockchain startups
that are just based in Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How wild is that?
Well, so Substratum's based in Ohio, right? That's probably the biggest cryptocurrency company based in definitely in Ohio. I don't know what others are in the Midwest, but that may be one of the biggest in the Midwest.
Did they start out in Ohio? Did they start out there?
I believe so. You don't move to Ohio.
Well, if the laws are any friendly towards crypto projects, I do understand that.
Well,
there might be a motive to move.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They started at a time when there wasn't really any crypto news going on. So I think they have been based in, just outside of Columbus for the entirety of their time in operation. But this is crazy. 3 zones provide tax incentives for businesses that invest in poor neighborhoods. But these opportunity zones that they're creating should bring some big players.
Yeah, it's interesting, living in the United States and, all around the world, we kind of guess who's going to lead the way as far as from a national standpoint, which country will be the pioneer for crypto and blockchain. You could argue it's Japan or, the United States or some of these smaller countries that are positioning themselves. But It's also interesting just in the United States, which states will actually lead the way for crypto and blockchain adoption, and who will actually be at the forefront of that. I think Ohio has taken a couple of huge steps with this setup for this venture fund, and then this is after last week they said that they would accept crypto for tax payments. So I think right now you could argue that Ohio is the hub for crypto and blockchain in the United States. You know, it's the state that is putting as much in place as possible to make itself a crypto friendly part of the country. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic changes as more and more states within the United States vie for that top spot, and really want to see the innovation come to within their borders.
Yeah, and in Ohio, I think the most prevalent news over the last decade has really been the rise in opioid usage. Right, it's kind of the capital of the opioid crisis in America, and it's cool to see. It's cool to see this good news coming out of there, because if you think back, so I mean, you can see what they're trying to do, right? If you look at Silicon Valley now, it's some of the highest priced real estate in the country. It's one of the most desirable places to live. They've got great public health systems and all these things in place in that area of California, and it makes it a desirable draw for people and companies. So Ohio taking this step, it could actually move the needle. And I guess move the needle is probably not the right way to talk about a state with an opioid epidemic, but it could shift focus away from that, right? It could bring things up as a whole in Ohio. I'm excited to see that. My family's also there, and it's kind of sad. You drive through there, a lot of the towns look like ghost towns. So this initiative could be great to bring some life back into a lot of those communities.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, though, we've got a piece of news that Max, I'm going to pass it over to you about Tether. I think that's something that you are the one to speak on. So why don't you jump right in?
Yeah, sure. Tether announced that they will reopen account verification and direct redemption of fiat from their platform. So what does this mean? If you can register yourself with Tether with the company and get KYC'd, and then in your account you can actually deposit USD and you can withdraw USD, and then you can send the USDT you receive from Tether to an exchange, etc., etc. And previously they closed this whole process, and the only way you could actually redeem your USDT to USD was to go to Bitfinex and then trade your USDT for USD and have Bitfinex delivered to your bank account. At times, we've seen in the past actually ever since USDT existed, that the prices of USDT sometimes would trade below or above $1. So sometimes it would actually be beneficial to you to sell your USDT and get your USD, and other times it would be very, very stupid, because you would probably sell 100,000 USDT for 90,000 USD. So they are reopening accounts on Tether, and the only requirement that actually is left is that you need to have at least 100,000 USD. So they won't do any movements for really small parties, but 100,000 USD, it's fair, I guess, because previously you could only actually get your money in and out by. Shit, that's my fire alarm, I think. I'll finish this up quickly and I'll go check it out. But previously, you had to be a verified customer, like a big exchange, to get your USD in and out. So I really like the fact that they start doing this, and this actually might prove a little bit more to other people that they are in fact solvent. Because right now, you can probably just take a run with a lot of people, and you probably get your USD. So I like it. I like this development. For me personally, if I'm ever forced to get into USDT, I kind of feel a bit safer that I can actually create a new account now, and if I want to have my USD, they will deliver it to my bank account. So yeah, I'm really happy about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think this is another positive step for Tether, really. There's been FUD surrounding Tether for as long as I've been in the space. From I try and take an unbiased approach to most things, but with Tether, I really just feel like they're operating about as well as you can. I think a lot of people are really confused by Tether, and it's something that people didn't understand. They check coin market cap and everything's up or everything's down except Tether. And it was just what they didn't understand. So they created narratives around this company that it was some evil, fraudulent bubble ready to pop crypto for good. And the fact of the matter is that I think it's just simply some crypto enthusiasts that realized the space needed something, and now they're trying to build a product that's not perfect, but at the end of the day is something that is very much needed. And they're not evil. They're just people running an organization trying to make the space better, but people didn't understand it, you know, like our friend Bitfinex or whatever. And I'm sure as time goes on, he'll continue to lose harder and harder, but he's probably not waking up and seeing this and happy about it. He's an idiot. And that will come to surface eventually. But you know, once again, Tether, like, when is this apocalyptic event going to happen, people? Like, everyone freaks out about it. You're just all been wrong for months. And sorry, Ronnie. Ronnie's one of the smartest guys I know. No doubt about that. And I've been scared about Tether before too. Don't get me wrong, but I just think Tether is doing a good job, and I hope they stay around in the space because Tether has saved my ass so many times. So you know.
Just for those out there who may not know, just a total noob question that I'd like for you guys, as what I would consider very intelligent people who have a grasp of Tether properly. What is Tether? What's the proper use of Tether? Why does it matter? It seems like it's always in the news. What's its relevance in the space?
Its relevance is super simple. I mean, it's the fact that you can that you have a coin that is transferable without the boundaries that fiat money has. So we say we create Tether, and then we put, for every Tether, we put 1 USD in a bank account. So that way we know this Tether is actually worth $1. And then we can send it between exchanges. We can fix liquidity gaps without having banks looking over our shoulders to say, like, hey, you gotta wait X amount of days to move your money from A to B. Let's say you're Bitfinex, let's say you're Binance, and Bitfinex has way too much Tether and Binance has way too little Tether. If they would have to exchange this money or go to someone else to get money to temporarily provide balance to their liquidity, it would take a lot of time, and it would also cost a lot of money. With Tether, they could just simply, you know, like send it, sign a memorandum, contract, whatever, and have that Tether transferred within probably 10 minutes. So that's one thing, you know, like there's probably others as well. I think Kyle knows.
me and Ronnie are Ronnie and I are pretty good tandem on the show. As you can see, we have seamless transitions between each other. That just comes from hanging out in the States. But no, Tether is great. You know, I think that stable coins are so important to crypto. Case in point, the last 4 weeks of our lives, where if we didn't have stable coins, you know, most of us would have lost 50 to 60% of our portfolio value in terms of, you know, it's fiat backing, right? And the reason that stable coins were created is because a lot of the exchanges that you trade cryptos on did not have an ability to escape the swings of the crypto market because they don't have fiat gateways. So for example, when you're on Binance and you have, you know, a bunch of Bitcoin and Ethereum and you're trading for all these different altcoins, what happens if the market goes down? It's not like you can put your money into US dollar or euros or yen or anything like that. You actually would have no escape valve, no way to escape the volatility of crypto if you didn't have stable coins. I'm pretty sure, you know, Tether was created in 2014. Think about that timing. That was probably during either the peak or the actual aftermath of the bull market leading up to, I think it was the end of 2013. I think it was like November or something like that. So Tether came into creation, I think, as a use case. People saw that, holy smokes, we need stable coins for these exchanges because they don't all have fiat gateways, and we need to be able to diversify into an asset that has no volatility, because sometimes no volatility is the best option. And that's why Tether exists, not to blow up crypto because it's run by frauds.
Yeah, you got to consider the fact, you know, they probably make a lot of money with Tether because it's an interest-free loan. To lend money, you pay money, but they get money for free. Getting money for free is something that is it's basically really giving people money, because you make money with money, and if you do it in a responsible way, you probably make a lot of money if I give you a lot of money.
Yeah, it's true.
So they have a lot of reason to remain existent, and as the space grows, the chances for a higher amount required of Tether in circulation, the higher amount of money they will make with Tether. There's a lot of reasons why Tether is not going away. The people who created Tether can probably profit a lot more off Tether in a years to come than if they would run away with $1 billion right now. And that kind of sounds stupid, because $1 billion sounds like a lot of money, but they will eventually get caught anyway. So there's so many reasons to not buy into the Tether FUD. And I was, like Crypto Donald and some other crypto Twitter people, and me myself including, we've joked about the fact that it would be so funny if they would create the Tether FUD themselves, because basically what you do, you create FUD, something is worth $1, and then people all of a sudden think, hey, it's worth 90 cents, and then you buy it for a lot cheaper, and then you sell it to yourself, because you actually own that stack. You have that money in the bank. You can switch that USDT for dollars, and you make 10% out of nowhere immediately, just because people got scared, and it's probably not even illegal at this point either.
So yeah, I mean, and I think that plays into the perceived shadiness of it, right? I think that it's a financial instrument that I think most people don't grasp, and that confusion can lead to some negative thoughts. I mean, that's just the case, right? People always throw shade at what they don't understand, right? That's human nature. It's most people's first inclination. One thing that I definitely want us to move on to and talk about, there was a big ruling coming out of a federal court here in the States. The headline, hyperbole at its finest: monumental federal court rules case in favor of crypto ICO against SEC, which I think is not the proper way of stating it, right? Obviously, anytime there is a ruling in a court in the United States, it establishes precedent. Precedent is very important for any kind of upcoming proceedings, right? If there is precedence on a matter, then it can either thwart potential lawsuits in the future, it can set the tone for how rulings will be passed down in the future, or it can give certain companies grounds to have cases brought against them dismissed. So precedence is very big. There's no doubt about that. I don't agree with the fact that this is a ruling against the SEC. That's not technically a ruling for someone in court is not a ruling against someone else, at least not in my opinion. So guys, have you guys had a chance to read this? Do you have any thoughts on this ruling here?
Yeah, I think this is a really positive ruling for ICOs, especially ones that operate in the United States, obviously. This is a very big deal, because what it really does is it not so much that, down with the SEC, go ICOs. It's more so that they now have a framework put in place. They can look at, like many traditional cases throughout history of the United States, it's what people use as a benchmark for declaring for themselves if they're performing an illegal or legal activities from there on out. So now we have a company, Blockfest, that can almost become the playbook for ICOs now and in the future. That, okay, wait a second, the courts ruled against the SEC that this ICO was not in fact a security, or wasn't proven to be a security. This is going to allow other ICOs to be able to align themselves with Blockfest, structure themselves, and have peace of mind and know that, well, okay, in the past this was the ruling, and as long as we operate this way, the same judgment should be passed down onto us. So I think this brings this is very positive for ICOs in the United States. I think it's a very good ruling.
Yeah, I like how this went down, and I was reading on Twitter. There are some very, very smart people on Twitter, and it became a bit blurry in my head. But if I recall correctly, this guy was explaining, and I forgot his name as well. I'm sorry about that. I will try to find it back and post it later. But he was talking about how the SEC cannot attack you for doing, for example, an airdrop of tokens if the tokens initially were not even proven to be a security. And what the SEC basically tried to do in a certain way, a part of this whole story, it was just to say that that every airdrop is of a token, is a distribution of a security. And I'm really happy the court didn't follow along. I think they set the bar really high. The SEC tried to get the most out of it, and they made some ridiculous statement on how airdrops of tokens are by standard distribution of securities. And I'm really happy the court did not follow along with that whole idea, and they said this is not true, because initially, how can you distribute something that is a security if initially the token was not ever a security? So what the SEC tried to say is, like, doesn't matter whether the token was a security to begin with or not, but if you airdrop it, it becomes a security or a distribution of security, which was not legal. So yeah, I'm really happy they didn't follow along with that whole idea. Yeah,
that's bullish news for companies like Mainframe and then Ontology. Those are the two that jump out to me right away as that, this case could potentially have the biggest impact on them. Not that they were ever brought into question as being securities. Don't, put those words in my mouth, but they were airdropped tokens that I think are actually making strides. And that could potentially set themselves up for, regulation in the future. So this is, I think, a step in the right direction for them.
What is going to matter though is, like, if you airdrop a token that was deemed a security to begin with, then it's probably not necessarily. Then this ruling probably doesn't say, "Hey, it's all right" or "it's wrong." I think they would still go for, it's still a gray zone. What is important though is that you can create a token that by itself is not necessarily a security, and then when you airdrop it, you're absolutely 100% safe if the court will rule as this court did.
Yep. Yeah. It's just going to make proving the utility of one's token paramount, right? Because if you can't prove utility, then by default it's going to be a security. So that should be interesting moving forward. And I mean, the U.S. is litigious as hell, right? People look to sue for everything that they can. One of the coolest things about precedents is that it stalls that, right? It gives people, or gives attorneys rather, it incentivizes them to not go after these kinds of things. Because most of the time, if my attorney is suing your attorney, my attorney is going to do it at little or no fee, knowing that they're going to be they're going to be getting paid from whoever we're litigating, whoever we're suing. So if attorneys aren't financially incentivized to bring on clients that are suing other people, then there will be less lawsuits in that area. So that's why I find this the most exciting. I just think that it's one less way for people to blame others for their stupid mistakes. So I'm a big fan of that. Kyle, is there anything else you wanted to throw in on this one?
No, I think you guys pretty much hit it on the head. It's a good story, and I think it just provides framework for future ICOs.
For sure. And on Twitter, you're going to hear the back and forth, right? People are still talking about what's going on with the SEC. Who's the SEC going to come after? How are you guys viewing all of this? I mean, as traders, when you hear news like this, what are your thoughts? How do you proceed in the market?
Well, I think that really, it's a pretty broad. It's I think that's a small stone in a big pond. This ruling. So I don't know if it adjusts my approach to the market very much. I mean, I haven't been an ICO participant for the better part of the past 9-10 months, for the very reason that I think that they're poor investments currently. And I think that will turn around. I do. I think that ICOs are a very, very important thing. And then it will continue to develop and they will become profitable again. But right now I'm not as focused on ICOs. And the kind of the legalities surrounding them. I also am not necessarily too concerned in investing in ICOs that are based out of the United States. That's definitely not something I'm trying to do. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. This news is good, but it doesn't really affect my investment decisions.
Yeah, for me, it's really simple. Any investment in any US-based ICO currently, for me, will. I want to see that they actually registered as a security or have some kind of regulatory approval for what they're doing. You know, like I've participated, for example, in the Stormcoin ICO last year, and they will start a new ICO round in well, sometime in the next few days / weeks, sometime in December. And they have their full regulation, you know, they have their Reg D, Reg S, whatever they need in America. And I'm not an American citizen, so I don't really need to follow those rules as much. But I have laws as well in Europe, and they, you know, I'm safe from a regulatory perspective to invest in them. I've checked it, so I will do that. You know, it's probably one of the most exciting projects, in my opinion, for 2019. Besides that, I would be very careful investing in any other ICO right now, even though demand is very low. So I think there could be some potentially very strong projects coming up with ICOs that are probably going to be very cheap. So because the market doesn't have a lot of money left, there is not a lot of hype. It's nothing like what we've seen in January, December. The returns will be a lot smaller, but the ICOs will also be a lot cheaper. So, yeah, I mean, from that perspective, I would love to join some ICOs, but I would be really careful with anything that's coming from the US that if they don't have their shit together.
Well, guys, thanks for your views on that. And for those of you tuning in, we were just discussing the Blockvest court case. That's what led to that whole topic of conversation. And again, those of you who are just now tuning in, thanks for joining us for Crypto Live. We are really just getting into some news today. We're going to finish the show off with some BTC analysis. But the first, well, I shouldn't say the first, but a really bullish piece of news that's come out in the last 24 hours is regarding NASDAQ. So the headline from Express, which is a British publication, Bitcoin exclusive, NASDAQ will list Bitcoin futures from next year. It's happening, quote, end quote. Take it away, guys. What are your thoughts on this? How is this bad?
I mean, I want to see some confirmation of this entire source. But if it's true, what it tells me, or what I kind of think that it could tell us, is the fact that if they say they have kind of virtually signed and sealed the deal with the CFTC, what does that tell us when it comes to BACT, guys? What's your what you know, like, what's 1 + 1?
Yeah,
it's true.
Agreed.
Tell me, what's 1 + 1? Kyle, tell me.
2.
Please.
It's I think it's 2.
Yeah, but yeah. So in regards to BACT, what does it mean, do you think?
I think that you'd have to assume that if NASDAQ gets confirmation from the CFTC that they'll be able to offer Bitcoin futures. I mean, NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange both have, you know, the same quality and caliber of people working for them. So I would assume that if NASDAQ is able to get the registration they need from the CFTC, then the New York Stock Exchange will be able to do the exact same thing. I think this is as bullish as possible for the space.
Exactly.
Like, this is like NASDAQ and BACT are probably the two biggest things outside of ETF approvals from major institutional players. Like, probably a couple of the most bullish things for crypto possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go in on that later, but
yeah, because last week we were discussing how BACT was delayed, and Joel was pressing this on the fact that even though they were delayed, we still didn't have anything on paper from regulatory instances like the CFTC and whoever needs to sign those papers for them to actually go live with their product, to have approval to go live with their product. So basically, we're saying, like, even there's no certainty that they will actually launch on January 24th. But in my opinion, if the NASDAQ can get a virtually signed and sealed deal on, not on paper, but apparently verbally, I think that increases the odds that BACT will actually go live by January 24th.
There was an article that I read. I just brought it up here from Abacus Journal, and it was from a few days ago. But the headline I thought was hilarious. Maybe you know the one that I'm talking about. Morgan Stanley Trader Talk. We talk about crypto every day around here. You can bet we'll trade the shit out of it in 2019.
Yeah, I like the guy. He always sends me a private message on Twitter when he has a new article. So yeah, I know exactly which article you're talking about.
Fantastic.
I mean, I would love to know how trustworthy his sources are, but Joel told me earlier that, you know, a lot of things he say has some
validity.
Validity. So
well, I mean, imagine you're at one of these institutions and you're about to have the ability to trade the best performing asset class of the last decade. You know, I mean, there's got to be a level of excitement. You've got to be, you know, planning your next luxury yacht purchase and all of these things. I think that this is some of the most bullish news that we just continue to see bullish article after bullish article when it comes to Bitcoin. So I'm assuming that by all of this, Bitcoin must have like taken a 10% leg up over the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, there is bearish news as well. I mean, we didn't add it to our structure for today's show, but Anthony Pompliano, he's been actually 3 months ago, I think it was the first time he started to mention it, about how fund managers are probably going to have to close their funds because they will be underwater for a long time and they won't be able to make any money. So if they can convince people within their fund that Bitcoin is going to zero, they can close their funds and walk away. And he tweeted last week that a few of his the people he knows in the space who run funds started to close their funds. So I mean, there's obviously there's bullish news, there's bearish news, and there's people who were way too overexposed that are now shutting down their funds, and that creates a lot of sell pressure. So let's be honest, I mean, the bear market is not over, but we are bullish on the long-term fundamentals of the space.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry guys, I was looking up a few stats there, a few pretty important stats. I mean, Ronnie, how many times have you and I discussed volume? Where's the volume? When's it going to be here? You know, like, are we seeing the volume we need? I think that it's very important to understand where volume comes from. Volume comes from a large group of investors with eyes on a certain market. So, for example, in the cryptocurrency markets today, there's about $14 billion in 24-hour volume across every single exchange in the world trading cryptocurrencies. $14 billion in total volume. NASDAQ on Friday had $144 billion in daily volume, and New York Stock Exchange had well over $120 billion. Okay. Those are two exchanges that are now planning to offer crypto products in 2019, early 2019. We're talking about an influx of well over $260 billion in trading volume. That's not necessarily going to pour into crypto, but you have to understand the amount of eyes on those two exchanges that are now going to be introduced to something, you know, Bitcoin futures, right? They're going to be made aware of it. They're going to be exposed to it, and it's going to be offered through an exchange they have trust in. Now, I'm not saying $260 billion of volume is going to flow into crypto, but that size, that ridiculous amount of volume that will now have access to a registered product on their home exchanges, you bet your ass we're going to see some of that volume flow into crypto. There's no doubt about it. There are people that operate solely on these exchanges, funds, analysts, institutional clients, everyone that is waiting for Bitcoin, waiting for crypto to be diversified on an exchange they're comfortable on. They don't want to learn how to use Binance or Coinbase or these, you know, new startup unicorns that are offering Bitcoin. Like, they're waiting for a recognized distributor to have the ability to sell Bitcoin and other cryptos. So it's like, I mean, we're talking about an exchange that has more daily volume than there is the total market cap of crypto. And we're introducing two of these. Like, they're just the first two steps before major exchanges across the world will be offering these products. That's where you're going to see the volume. That's where you're going to see Bitcoin go to 100K, in my opinion. I mean, you know, like, it's scary to buy Bitcoin at these prices, right? What if we dump to 1K? What I know for sure is that if I bought Bitcoin right now at $3,800, in the next 5 years, I'd have an opportunity to sell at way higher than that, at least 2x that price. I'm not concerned, and I'm excited for these two exchanges to get their crypto products live. Definitely.
Absolutely. Well, you think about how money flows to the space, right? Most people don't start trading cryptocurrencies by jumping into a shitcoin, you know? they enter in Bitcoin and ETH, or maybe Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash, because they're confused about which is the actual Bitcoin, and and then they branch off. So I think that this is a good start. This is definitely going to bring some volume to the market, and like you said, it's going to bring exposure. And you'll see, I shouldn't say you'll see, but people will see this asset perform very well for them, and they're going to wonder what else is going on in the cryptocurrency space. You know, this is definitely going to, these futures are going to be the gateway to more money flowing into the Binances and the KuCoins and the other exchanges that we all trade on right now when we're, you know, exchanging our crypto. So yeah, it's bullish all the way around. And whether it happens in January or it happens in June, there's no bad in this, right? As long as you're not over leveraged and you've got correct position sizing and proper risk management, you're going to be able to sustain and wait out whenever the gains come.
Yeah, and trust me, there's a lot of people buying Bitcoin right now, but they won't outperform the sell pressure at this point. You know, you wanna let the Bitcoin do its thing. If you actually think about it, we're currently trading around 14 billion US dollars trading volume in the entire market. At its lowest during the bear market, I think we've seen like 8 billion US dollars in volume on a daily basis. But the price of Bitcoin would be around $6,000 to $7,000, maybe $8,000. We're currently below 4,000, or yeah, we're below 4,000. So that means that currently we're trading almost twice the amount of USD value, but probably almost 4 times the amount of Bitcoins being exchanged on a daily basis, because the price of Bitcoin got down, but the volume is still probably higher than it was at 6, 7, 8K. So this is interesting. You know, you got to see the other side, but we'll probably see some lower lows before we eventually shake everyone out who kind of believes the story about how Bitcoin is going to destroy the climate, how Bitcoin is going to zero, how Bitcoin failed, etc., etc.
Well, I mean, it's just important to bookmark those tweets and keep track of the people who tell you that, right? Because everyone's going to tell you that you're crazy right up to the point where they start telling you that they knew it would be successful, right? That's the transition that everyone goes through, you know? And I mean, really, if you've ever started a business before, that's what everyone says, right? You leave this potential for earning, and then you move into something that's completely unknown, and you may make it, you may not, but people always doubt until they don't. And fortunately, I'm happy that we've gotten to experience this bear market together, guys. I think it's almost over, and we're going to spend more of our life in good times than in bad when it comes to these markets, I think.
Yeah, you got to consider that 95% of the people in this world, they will only tell you things and stories that are in their interest. People do always things because they have a motive and they have a goal. And whatever they tell you is usually in line with that goal. If they can help you out and reach their own goal, okay, fine. But if they screw you over and reach their goal, it's probably also fine for them. So always take good care about what people tell you, and always think about why they tell you.
Bitcoin special is probably from, you know, Bitcoin is killing the environment to Bitcoin helps feed kids all over South America or something like that. Like that's probably what we'll start hearing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's just as soon as it can be spun in a way that is beneficial for the people that are in control, then that's what we'll see. Because I don't think we need to bring up a Bitcoin chart today. I don't know about you guys. I think we should just start bringing things to a close. This week is going to be a big week. There's going to be a lot coming up for us, a lot going on in the markets. You can count on us to be here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We appreciate those of you for tuning in today. And until Wednesday, guys, have a good one.
One quick chart. One quick.
You want to bring a chart? Okay, all right, bring the chart up, man.
I just want to.
Just kidding. Pause that fade to black. We're gonna now cover some Bitcoin for those of you listening on the podcast.
Just a quick recap of a chart that we discussed last week.
There we go.
We discussed that descending broadening wedge that was kind of forming. I think we discussed that on Wednesday last week. And this wedge has has not really broken out yet. There's still possibility for it to come down. There's still possibility for us to go up. What is really interesting is I think we just retested our liquidity towards the $3,700 range, and we bounced. If this does bounce, there's probably a short opportunity towards the 4K range, but we already tested that 4K range when we broke down. So if we bounce here, I think there's a good chance that we actually break through that 4K range and go look for higher levels. If we break down 3,700, I think we're probably going down to 3,500, potentially make a new low around 3K. So I'm going to be having some extra orders down at 3.2 to 3K. I think that's going to be a very profitable move to make some money to the upside. The other way around, probably if we break out, probably take some shorts starting from around 4.8 and DCA down to around 5.4, sorry. I think that's it for me.
A couple of things I want to address just because there's some comments and I want to take a minute to address those.
Sure.
So Sam, we will definitely be covering more alts as it's appropriate to do so. Right now, most of us are being cautious across the board. I'm not going to say we're not holding any alts because I hold quite a bit. But basically with, my mindset is just alts that I believe in long-term and that I'm averaging down on. They're, right now with Bitcoin doing what it's doing until it either defines a range or moves up at a steady pace. There's too much uncertainty around a lot of alt plays. Narf, am I a rare breed for holding XRP and thinking it will hit $10 in 2 years? Yes. Yes.
No, he's not a rare breed because a lot of people believe it.
I could see it. I could see it.
Yeah, me too.
Bitcoin's going to be.
You can see XRP hitting $10 in 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Time high was what, like 330 or something, 340.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I think the whole crypto market's going to return like that. But bet your ass if there's ever another bull market, XRP is going to go off too. As much as I hate it, for sure. But if you only hold XRP, then you need to reevaluate your life.
Yeah, I mean, if Bitcoin is going to go to where I believe Bitcoin is going to be around 2021, I would not be surprised to see 200K Bitcoin, 250K Bitcoin. So if you think about that, even if Ripple is going to lose a lot versus Bitcoin,
mm-hmm.
250K or 200K is still a giant multiplication from where we're at right now. So it would not be weird to see Ripple at $10 by then.
There you go.
In 2 years' time. But honestly, I think that Bitcoin will have more value than Ripple.
Fucking better. So yeah, my thoughts are just that there may be an SEC ban before Ripple sees $10. But I've been wrong before. You guys are smarter than me when it comes to trading, so I defer to the brighter minds that are on this live stream / podcast. The last question, and I'm going to pass this off to you guys. It kind of ties into what I said earlier. You think it's still good to go out of alts? What are your guys' thoughts on that? If somebody's holding bags right now, how are you evaluating your bags? Are you exiting? Are you looking to dollar cost average? What are your guys' thoughts on those?
Go ahead, Ronnie. I need to plug in headphones.
All right. Tough question. I mean, I'll be honest. I still have a few alt bags that I fundamentally believe in and hope they will do very well and actually start to decouple from Bitcoin because they're going to start to generate revenue. These are alt bags that I'm not looking to sell right now. If anything, I would probably buy a little bit extra. But at this point, I'm going to be honest. I'm only interested in buying more Bitcoin. I have probably invested around 25% of the stack that I intend to invest during this bear market. So I'm still looking to add 75% to that. Once I have gathered this Bitcoin, I will at times invest some of that Bitcoin into alts. But I think I have enough exposure at this point, and I will increase that exposure once we actually see a very defined alt season, when we really see signals of a lot of money that moved into the market, where the market as a whole has gotten a lot more attention from new investors, where there's going to be alts that are going to explode like crazy, like we've seen last time. And it will happen again, but it's not going to happen anytime soon, guys. So please be careful, buy the dips. But I think there's still downside left to a lot of these alts, and I think a lot of the alts are going to die.
I think Ronnie could definitely be right there. Personally, I was pretty bullish at 6K. I thought it was a good place to accumulate, and I was dead wrong. So I've been net short since 5,500, 5,600, except for about a 48-hour period last week where I bought some spot BTC and spot Ethereum, which ended up panning out all right for me. But at this point, I'm net short again. I don't hold any alts or crypto for that matter, except for the Bitcoin that I'm using to short. And then I'm looking for a retest of range lows here. We'll see if this range holds, but I don't see that changing anytime for the foreseeable future for myself. I think that more downside looks like it's imminent. But if volume keeps declining and price seems to hold here, then yeah, I'll take a stab at buying some indexed alts, like some big alts. I don't think I'm going to go deep diving for any shit coins right now, because I like to, when the market's so bearish, I like to keep my trades consolidated and like five or six different alts exposed to. And I'm looking for stuff that's going to rebound in the market, like, like a Neo or 0x and Ethereum and stuff like that. That's going to kind of go with the market. I'm not looking to bang like 50, 100% baggers right now. It's just not my play.
Yeah. And, my strategy, because I focus mainly on alts, my strategy over the past 30 days has been to look at alts that are making new all-time lows, that have catalysts within 6 weeks, that have increasing volume. So most alts made their yearly all-time lows mid-August and mid to end of August, but there have been some that have made new lows in October and November. What I found on those plays is that you'd often have pretty sizable bounces. So there are a few that I'll track, and I'll wait until they get close to what could be considered a bottom. Not worried about catching it exactly, and then I'll start to dollar cost average until the bounce happens. And it's worked well on a couple of different plays. There may be, that isn't something that can hold true across the board, right? Something can make an all-time low today and then be lower tomorrow. But I've just found that looking at a lot of these trades, a lot of the most successful trades that I've made over the past 60 days have been from coins that have hit an all-time low with the catalyst upcoming within 6 weeks that have had increasing volume. So if you find those, it's good to watch them and see what could happen, because there are some good plays out there. I know on this show we mentioned Turtle a couple of weeks ago. So I thought I would just end the show by letting everyone know that it did in fact 2x for 5 seconds yesterday. So 1 sat to 2 sats, 1 sat to 2 sats, guys. That's it. Quick swing.
I'll definitely be trading alts, and this whole bear market has kind of forced me to evolve and develop some new strategies. I've been working on these strategies for the last couple of months, fine-tuning and finding some solid ways to actually be profitable, even by making only like 1 or 2% a day, but do that on a regular basis. And these are things that I will be continuing to fine tune and eventually start sharing, as I feel confident that these strategies can be deployed in a way that not only I can profit of it, but that you guys can profit of it as well. So, I mean, alts are very interesting because they're volatile assets, so they have to be traded. But from an investment perspective, I would be careful right here.
100%. All right, well, guys, thanks for joining all of us today for this conversation. We appreciate you for tuning in. We are going to go ahead and sign off for Crypto Live with Bitcoin Bravado. We will be back on Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Take care, guys.
Take care.